Hi, Victoria here. Last episode I talked about Caitlin Hunter's Glacier Park cowl and how much I liked it. And it wasn't just the design that appealed to me. It's a beautiful design. But I also liked it because she said she designed it while she was visiting Glacier National Park, which happens to be just an hour from where we live. My husband and I visited the park last September. These are some pictures from that visit. We did a couple of hikes. As you can tell, it's very beautiful. We love living near the park. It's great. Like most national parks, it's rather busy. There are off seasons, and it's nicer to go then. It's a lovely, lovely park. But as you can see, right now, we are in the middle of winter here in northwest Montana. It can be very beautiful. We've been enjoying all the snow. It's lovely here. Very cold, but lovely. The reason I started this podcast was to help encourage myself and to document my Christmas knitting for this year. Last year I found myself in a scramble to knit the Christmas gifts I wanted to finish. And this year I figure if I can get one finished per month, Christmas season will seem relaxed and nice like it should be. So last episode I showed you that I was working on the Fruit Loop gloves for my mother-in-law, and they are finished. Really happy with them. They fit really nice. They look really nice. It's a great pattern. If you haven't knit gloves before, I'm not sure this would be the best one to start with, but if you like to give new things a try, it's worth it. One tip I would offer on knitting any gloves is when they start talking about picking up stitches between the fingers, especially after you finish probably the pinky finger, which you really don't need to pick up stitches for, but you have to pick up extra stitches around the other fingers, and they'll say like pick up 3 stitches or something like that. I always look at what the area is I'm knitting on that finger, and I'll pick up as many as I think it needs. If the pattern says pick up 3 stitches and it looks like it needs to have 7 stitches picked up, that's what I do. And then as I continue on up the finger, every other row I'll reduce, knit a couple together, and get down to the number of stitches the pattern suggests you have for that particular finger. And that has worked out really well. What it does is it keeps me from having to go back and fix holes around the fingers, which I really don't like to do. And I have some good news as far as gloves go. I also finished the Foxhall gloves by the Rainey sisters, which is a paid pattern on Ravelry. I knit these for my father-in-law for Christmas. I had knit this pattern before. I had made 3 pairs of the Foxhall gloves for Christmas presents last year, so I was familiar with the pattern. I decided to use leftover yarn from 2 of those gloves, a multi-blue and a plain blue. And I thought I had enough yarn left over, but I did not. What happened was after knitting 3 fingers in the plain blue on the first glove, I realized I wasn't going to have enough plain blue color for the second glove. So I came up with a new plan and used some of the leftover multicolor yarn, which I think worked out really well. I think knitting the index finger and the thumb in the multicolor yarn gave it a nice look, and I really like the way it turned out. Also, Hey Brownberry on Ravelry has a group called Make Whips Not Waste, and the gloves fit in really well with that. Her group is has an attitude of gratitude where they like to use stash and reuse a pattern and reduce waste, which I think is a great idea, and we all probably need to do more of that. And you might go check out her Ravelry group, Make Whips Not Waste, and there may be prizes offered for entries into that group. All right, something else I'm excited about is I finished my Gingerbread Boys. It was, the pattern is Gingerbread Boy by Sara Elizabeth Kellner. I'm really excited with how these turned out. I think they're really cute. That's one of them right there. I love them. I did make them little hats and little scarves. I got the idea from a person on Ravelry called Red Mittens Designs for the scarf and the hat. That wasn't my idea. And I'll link to her page where she talks about them. What I did though, she knit hers I think in worsted weight yarn, but I liked mine in the sock yarn. And so for this little hat, I cast on 60 stitches. And the scarf's just whatever works out. Also, I did get some help from Susan Anderson. There's another one, isn't he cute? Susan Anderson has a nice video about adding faces onto your stuffed toys, which I struggled with. And her video I thought was really handy. I thought it worked out really well. Here's the last one, the third one I did. He's got little zigzags on him, and he has less detail. His buttons are French knots because I wanted this one to be for my youngest grandson, although he'll be a year old by the time he gets it. And they could also, I've attached this bow really well, but they could also just trim off these ends if it's going to be a problem with him putting them in his mouth. I would prefer they do. But the zigzag pattern is also on Red Mittens Designs little website. She has a little blog about how she did that, and I thought that was a cute way to add that design too. The one tip I have for these guys is the pattern has you actually start at the neck and you knit down, and then they have you pick up at the neck to knit the head. Well, that's great, but they don't ask you to stuff the gingerbread boy until you're finished with the head, and that seemed really awkward to me. So I stuffed just as I picked up for the head. It just seemed to make it easier. It was easy to hang on to it this way, and I had to use a big fat marker with the cap on, of course, to stuff the stuffing down into his legs and arms well enough at that point anyway, and it just would have been more awkward with the head already finished knitting. But I really like the pattern. I'm not very good at faces. It took me a while to get these faces so that I liked them, and it was pretty much trial and error. But like I said, Susan B. Anderson's video is really helpful, and I will link to that in the show notes. But this was a fun pattern. I really like it. I added this little piece of worsted weight yarn as a little edging to make it look like he's got a little vest on, and I just sewed that on at the end. This is a fun project. I hope my grandchildren like them. I sure do. So I don't plan on just knitting Christmas presents all year. One of the reasons I want to get them done is because I like to knit things for myself or other projects in between. Since the last episode, I did finish my Tootsie Roll socks by Lisa K. Ross, a free pattern on Ravelry. I really like it. I think they're fun. It was an easy one. They do have some ladders up the side, but that doesn't bother me. I don't know. Don't think it's a big deal. Another thing I got started since my last podcast was the Flax light sweater, which I talked about by Tincanknits, that I wanted to make for myself because I had seen my friend Hannah Florian make one and just loved it. So I did get it started. This is it right here. This yarn is by Mothy and the Squid. It is Midnight Rainbow Brite. I love it. It's really pretty. This is just going to be, there'll be one ball of this and then it'll evolve into something else. But my needles broke. I bought a size 2 circular needle from Knit Picks and they broke. So I will soon be contacting them for a replacement, and I can't really work on the sweater anymore until I get that replacement. Sad, sad. So now that I've finished so many of my, well, 2 to 2.5 Christmas projects, I guess, the grandchildren will be getting something other than the gingerbread boys. But my oldest grandson, who turns a year old in March, I wanted to knit him a Christmas present. And I had this started a while back. I actually started it in September last year, and I didn't get any further. It is the Boy Cat pattern by Julie Williams. It's a paid pattern on Ravelry. I got the head done. That's something. There's the head. I got the head done. I have the body, the little body kind of finished, and a couple of legs. Not a big deal. But in the next week, I think that is going to be my plan, to work on that and try to get that wrapped up. He also gets a little sweater and some pants, so that should be really cute. I think the face is probably going to turn out to be the most difficult part of the pattern. I really struggled with his little ears. I think they turned out okay. His face is not near as nice as her pattern turns out, but then, you know, she's probably done a million of them, and she's very good at it. Mine looks a little rough. Definitely looks a little rough. So I'm calling him a little feral cat. He's going to be Russell's little feral cat toy. Toy cat, not cat toy. Toy cat. Besides keeping track of Christmas presents I want to knit and other projects in between that, another goal I have for my podcast is to keep it relatively short. I know we're all crunched for time, and it's tough to fit everything in that we already want to do, besides watching a really long podcast. So I'm going to keep mine quite short. The last thing I want to do is to mention a couple of podcasts I really like. I have come to really enjoy them, and I look forward to their episodes quite a bit. The first one is Alternate, and that is Adrian. He's comes to us from Australia. I really like his slant on knitting. I think I will learn things from him, and he's just a really enjoyable person to watch. The other podcast I look forward to is 4 Boys and an L Girl, and that is Patty. She lives in Newfoundland. She is very talented. She does cross stitch and sews and knits, and I think she said she does rug hooking. And so I really enjoy watching both of those. You may already watch them, be aware of them, or like them, but I just wanted to let everyone know about them. And I will have links to everything in the show notes. So thanks for hanging in with me. Episode number 2, end of January, and I'll let you know what happens in the next couple weeks. Bye from Montana.